Hello. So this is an episode that I put on my personal channel. And I put it on my personal channel because I wasn't really sure if it would actually fit the audience of this channel. But it is something that I definitely felt like I could share with anyone who's running their own Google Ads. I feel like it's a great way to sort of get the gist of what goes on behind the scenes running a business like mine. And I do feel like there is some synergy in between the audience I have here who's learning about Google Ads, sometimes works at an agency, as well as the audience that I have of small business owners, maybe that are just getting into Google Ads. So without further ado, here's the episode. Again, I publish this on my personal channel. It's a little bit of the behind the scenes of what it's like to run a Google Ads business if something like that has ever interested you. And I think I put it out there just to gauge to see what the interest is in this type of content. Again, you'll hear me get into this in the episode a little bit more, but I hope you enjoy for this unfiltered episode, and I'm just going to drop it on this channel as well and see where it goes and see what type of interest there is in this type of content. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Hello there, and welcome back to my channel that I've completely abandoned here. So today I'm going to do something that goes against the advice of, well, pretty much every single person that I know in my network. That being said, there is something in my heart that just calls me to always do this type of content. And yeah, I'm going to get real. So we are going to talk about how it's been running my own Google Ads business for the past 2 years. And like I said in the introduction, every single person has told me, do not make this type of content. They've advised me strongly against it because it doesn't scale, it doesn't monetize. And for me, what has always held me back from making content about running your own Google Ads business, becoming a freelancer, leaving your job to do this, is that I never, ever, ever want to sell someone on leaving a secure job for something that, frankly, is going to be a ton of work. It's not guaranteed at all. You're definitely not going to become a millionaire. Like, I can speak to the volumes and volumes of challenges that I've had along the way. But then I also look down and think to myself, like, I would never, ever, ever in a million years leave the life that I built, the business that I built. And I absolutely love running it. And even on the hardest days of my business, which I've had many, I would still do this all over again. I could not be any happier with my decision. So here's where I'm at. I don't care. I'm spilling the tea for every single person. So if you're nosy, if you're running your own Google Ads agency, or you're a freelancer, or you just want to leave and do this, this is the video for you. And the way that I've structured this video today is just the easiest way that I could think of, and that's in list form. And I sat down with about 2 to 5 minutes of planning and wrote down the top lessons that I've learned, because I figured, hey, why not jump into something very quickly that people advised me not to do versus think about it? Because if I think about it too hard, it's just not going to happen. So my very first piece of advice is to do it your own way. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when I first started, I just didn't know what to do, right? So I remember I spent a ton of time building my website, and I would tweak it over and over. And I had all this language about I, and then I was advised by like a very, very close, successful freelance friend, industry friend, to change all my language to we, because I could always pull in another freelancer, or I can give the illusion that I have a team, or I may eventually want to build a team. And we seemed more professional for the bigger clients. And you know what? After kind of going down the path and thinking about growth and working on my own, I decided that never in 100 million years do I ever want to build a team. Now, have I pulled in freelancers on projects? Absolutely. But that's not we, that's an I, and that's on a case-by-case basis. So I went back through my website and changed everything back to I language. Did my revenue dip? No. Did it make a difference? No. But what I did is I leaned more into what I know in my core and how I want to operate my business. So I think that that's really, really important, is that anytime I've had a business struggle, that has not been found, and the answer to get past that has not been found on the outside of me. It's been found on the inside of me. And we're not used to doing that as employees, as some people who've traditionally worked for other people, is asking ourselves, what do we want? What do I want? How can I be more me? How can I come to the table with more of Sarah? That is so, so, so important if you're building your own business. And so that to me has been my number one lesson. And I've used it consistently in every single part of my business. So I talked about my website, but I talk about who I actually choose to work with. If I don't feel aligned with that client, then I am not going to work with that client. If I don't feel like I am going to get something out of a particular project, that is not a project that I want to take. I try to stay aligned with who I am, the life that I want as a whole person versus ever looking to the outside of what maybe I should be doing or what business model I should be taking or what other people's advice is. It's all well meaning. But at the end of the day, the answer lies within me. The second major lesson, and this shouldn't be new to anyone who knows me or has been in PPC for a while, but the industry is absolutely your best friend. There are many hard days, and there's many times I open a campaign for an agency or for a client, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this. Because the thing is, when you're working for yourself, you don't see the breadth of clients that you may necessarily see it. And so I'll open, for example, a YouTube campaign and think like, why is it tracking like this? Why is the setting like this? Call an industry friend, talk to them, ask them. They are more than willing to get on the phone with you and help you. They will become your best friends. In fact, I had a really weird circumstance right at the beginning when I was working with a client and their ads kept getting rejected. And I posted something on LinkedIn about it. And I said, oh my gosh, I have this client. This is what's happening. And another agency owner said, oh, I know exactly what that is. And they were right. They were correct. So you have to maintain your contacts within the entire paid search industry if you want to get through some of those hard times. Also, again, talking about business, because we are people traditionally that put content out there. We do a lot of outbound marketing to get the inbound leads. I am not someone who uses cold email or cold calling or anything, although I totally know people who do. And many times you'll think like, man, it's been really quiet the past couple months. Am I doing something wrong? Is my content just not being shown? What's going on? Or maybe you're just mentally not there. And having those conversations with your industry friends can really, really help. Because I oftentimes find that if I'm down, my friend is down. Or if I'm down, and I'm talking like down in terms of like my reach with my content, then they're down. Or if it's a quiet time of year for me, it's a quiet time for them. Now, for me at this point, since it's been a couple of years, what's so interesting is my CRM system tells me when I'm down. It'll say, this is typically a quiet time of year. This is how this works. And I'm starting to get my own data. And so now I can then be that industry person for someone else and say, oh, yeah, these couple months are quiet. So I could tell you within my business, just full disclosure here, because that's what I do, is that typically that like fourth quarter is always quiet for me. And in January, it always picks up an absolute ton for some reason. And then for me, during the summer, I purposely go into a quiet mode. So it's not that the business isn't there. It's that I adjust what I am willing to take on for the summer because I like to take the summers to be there with my kids. And so what I tend to do in the summer is my content gets a little fluffier, a little lighter. It's a lot more of, hey, these are the books that I'm reading here. So I'm going to take care of myself. And that type of content on LinkedIn and just in general doesn't tend to convert as many clients, but it keeps me like top of mind and it's nurturing. But it's not necessarily conversion focused. But I still make a lot of that in the summer because my summer, that's what I'm doing. I'm enjoying my life. That is the beauty of this. That is the beauty of owning and doing your own thing. And that is ultimately why I got into it. I think the third lesson is to really know your business model and own the business model that you've chosen. So I think if you get in your head about which business model, it's easy to keep changing things. And so I mentioned at the beginning, knowing yourself. So are you an agency? Are you a freelancer? Are you a consultant? Are you a coach? Are you creating a course? These are all different business models. And oftentimes you'll hear just the propaganda online or from big creators is, have 6 revenue streams. I don't know how people do that. Or if they are doing that, they've been doing this for much longer than I have. I know one of my close friends, Jill, she has multiple revenue streams at this point. But she's been doing this for 5 years, and she built her brand from the beginning with the course and then started in on the coaching and had a very short period of time where she was managing accounts versus me. I primarily managed accounts and then later transferred into the coaching. And so again, keeping in mind that those are different business models and different ways of billing and different acquisition, and you need different things for each business model. So for example, if you're building a course, you need to be putting out probably 10 times the content of someone who's managing accounts. Or if you're doing coaching, again, I'm going to call that a 10x content business, because coaching, you're taking one-on-one calls. It's a one-to-one relationship. While the hourly fee for those calls is generally more expensive, you're only going to be able to scale that by getting more people into your fold, into your content. It is a constant seeking of clients versus management, where you land a client, you work on a retainer for a couple months, and then ultimately you're doing content enough so that you catch another client, if that makes sense. So different business models, different volume of content, but regardless, you need to understand the differences between those to set yourself up for the best success, and then not try to do multiple things, because then people are just going to get completely confused. Does she have a course? Does she manage? Does she coach? What does she do? And again, I can speak to this firsthand because I am currently in the process of making that move from managing campaigns to coaching. And frankly, I still take management clients. The past 2 months, I've had a management client. I just don't talk about that in my content because I am moving into coaching, but you got to pay the bills. So big, big, big lesson there for me is know your business model and align to your business model. And when you do consider having, those multiple streams, do that with a knowing attitude about what that entails. Speaking of content, I cannot say this enough. I've said this in other videos that I am a content person. Now, again, this is how I do it. I don't want to reach out to someone and be like, hey, my name's Sarah. Like, do you want to run Google Ads with me? Like, that is weird. That is awkward. That is not my personality. So I prefer to put out content endlessly. Just there is basically what I would call a bottomless pit of content. I could put out infinite content and I still probably wouldn't be satisfied, because that is how I draw people in and that's how I get clients. And for me, that's where I'm comfortable, is because I can always talk about Google Ads. How much money do you need to be spending on Google Ads? I mean, I think about any question that a small business owner would want, how to succeed with Google Ads. What type of match type do I need for Google Ads? What campaign type should I choose? I mean, these are questions that I can answer in my sleep. And so it's all about making the content around those and then attracting people who are encountering that issue into your business model. So I think it's really, really important to always be writing, always be putting out content, and then frankly, repurposing that. Sometimes when I think about this, I realize that I am in a really, really good position because I have about 15 years of content under my belt. And so I have no shame of going back and looking at something that I wrote 15 years ago and thinking, okay, how could I update this for 2025? What would I change now? What has changed in the past 10 years? And some stuff has stayed completely the same. Some stuff has changed significantly. Sometimes what's interesting is talking about how things have changed, because a lot of times when you're bringing in small business clients, you have to think in today's day and age, they're getting their advice on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has 15, 20 years of paid search advice to archive. And so it's telling people to do the wrong things. And so me looking back at my old content and then addressing it, saying, in the past, we built out millions and millions of keywords. And today we're building out, 50 keywords in an entire account. For me to be able to say, this is how we used to do it, and address the information that I know they're getting from ChatGPT, and then putting that into my content, it helps. So again, repurpose, create content, look at your old content, and there's never enough content to keep your business afloat. You can always put out more, say it differently, and continue that conversation. That is going to be the fuel and the gasoline behind every single opportunity that you get for your business. So I guess if I were to put it into a percentage, I would say that I spend about 50% of my time creating and publishing content. But when stuff is slow, maybe I'll spend 80 or 100% of my time on content. And frankly, I enjoy it. And so I think that makes it much, much easier for me. Like right now, I should be writing an article. I'm putting it off a little bit. It's an unpaid article, but it's something that I enjoy doing, and I lean into that, and luckily it's helped me along the way. So along with content, you're not going to be really good at content if you're not reading and contributing to the conversation with others. And I think this goes along with like your industry friends. This goes along with creating your own content, but read what other people are saying, read what other people are not saying, read what their motivation is. I've gotten to this point where I have this almost reptilian instinct of when the industry writ large is in a slowdown, because there's certain people within the paid search industry that only start creating content when they don't have business. And I know their cycle at this point, and it's almost like a haha, okay, they need business right now because their content is really good. That being said, the real purpose here of this sort of lesson is to tell you that you need to be consuming too and contributing to this conversation. There's so much gold in the comments. And it's interesting because LinkedIn right now, that is my primary source for leads. LinkedIn right now, if you make a comment on somebody's post, it will actually tell you the impressions that your comment is getting. So I think LinkedIn is really, really wanting that engagement on their platform as well, especially since they're showing you a metric to reward that. That sort of tells me what exactly is going on and what the platform needs and wants. The next lesson that I have is really to put yourself first. I think this is something that I really struggled with, especially when I first started my business. When I first started my business, I would sit down right in the morning to work. I couldn't wait till my kid left for school. I would just get right into it. I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing every single thing that I swore that I would do when I started my own business. And that really took a toll. I think, because I left the agency that I left in sort of this, I'm going to call it not the best way, I really, really felt like I had something to prove to myself. And so I set an income goal. I told myself, I'm going to make 10,000 a month. And then once I made 10,000 a month, I want to make 20,000 a month. And I achieved my goal, but by the time I achieved my goal, my eye was twitching nonstop. It couldn't stop twitching. I was having a lot of vision issues. I was getting a lot of headaches. It wasn't good. I was secretly drinking every single night under the stress. But here's the thing. Who put that stress on me? I put that stress on me because I wanted to prove something. And looking back, I don't think that I should have done that. I should have really practiced what I preached, which is taking care of myself. And so now I do my workout no matter what. I put myself first because if I'm not doing okay, the business isn't doing okay. And also the other thing about that is that you kind of have to get used to the fact that there will be slowdowns. You have to get used to that feeling and that a slowdown is okay. And a slowdown is a time to take care of yourself because the business will still be there no matter what. Google Ads is still going to exist. People are still going to need help with Google Ads. Google Ads is still going to be a pay-to-play environment. And as long as it costs money and people can do it wrong, there will still be business in Google Ads. And so just knowing that and having that foundation and growth underneath you allows you to take the time to take care of yourself and know that doing a workout, you're not going to miss a client. I would also say, kind of going back to my point above, if you were creating content, then your content is working for you while you're doing those things. And I think that that's one of the things for me that was the most transformational. And I think I built another YouTube channel where I only talk about Google Ads. And what I love so much about that channel is I will publish a video and then immediately do a workout. And then I can watch the views start to roll in on my YouTube studio. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll be in the middle of a workout and I'll just pop into the YouTube Studio app and then I'll see the real-time data and think, my content is working for me. It is so nice. Or the first thing in the morning when I wake up, I'll open my YouTube Studio and you'll see the real time and you'll literally see that within the past 60 minutes while you've been sleeping, somebody's been watching your video. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful place to be. But, it takes a bit to get there. So take care of yourself. Don't let yourself get to the point where your eyes twitching and you're stressed out because it's simply not worth it. And that's not why you got into this to begin with. And that is a really, really super important lesson. And I think the last lesson that I'm going to share with you is just knowing your dreams and being there to embrace them. When I very, very first started my business, I knew I loved Google Ads. That's something that I've been doing. And I think what I brought to the table, and I still bring to the table, was just my desire. But I also look at this and I'm like, part of why I was so good at Google Ads is I never, ever, ever took my eyes out of the platform. I sat there all day and got obsessed with my clients. And frankly, that's not really sustainable long term. And so really, I had to look at myself and think what is my dream beyond just running Google Ads all day, right? What is my dream? And for me, my dream has really actually always been, one, to have the business, to get the business, and then to help others who want to build a business because I truly, truly believe that I am way more than running Google Ads. And I think that that's the one thing that has drawn me to making this video today. And that it has drawn me to being able to talk more and more about the business side of running your own Google Ads business is that deep in my core, I think there's something more than me running Google Ads. And that is that I had the courage to put myself out there, build the business, and continue building the business. And it's what I love about giving back. And then also, again, every single person that comes to me, so I have moved completely into Google Ads coaching at this point. I do not manage accounts, although I told you I manage a couple just to stay current. But basically, the business that makes me jump out of my seat is just answering the phone and consulting and helping clients with their Google Ads versus just ongoing management. My dream has always been to help give people that courage and that ground underneath them when they are making this decision. And again, like I said, I've hesitated because my dream has always been deep down to help other people because I know that I've always had that courage behind me. But I've been advised by like a million other people, like, no, you can't monetize that. You can't monetize helping people start their freelance business. And again, because I don't want to make that promise to people and say, like, oh, start your own freelance business, you'll make millions. I hesitate every time I hit record. So here we are, going out on a limb, making this. If you enjoy this, make sure you comment, make sure you tell me, because frankly, if this video lives in the, like, I don't know, hole of the internet with nothing to show for it, I'm not sure I'm going to come back to it because it's hard to put yourself out there. As somebody who puts herself out there day after day after day, putting myself out there in this way, in a way that I've been advised against, is a little extra layer of that. So anyway, I hope I see you in the comments. I hope that this helps somebody who is wanting to get into the brain of somebody who's done this for a couple years very, very successfully. And I look forward to hopefully making more videos about this. We'll see. We'll see. So subscribe, don't subscribe, stalk me, find me on LinkedIn, watch my other YouTube channel if you're interested in learning more about just running Google Ads, something a little bit more transactional. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you.